Hello, Blenders, and welcome to episode number 209 of ReelBlend, a podcast that wonders if we should start calling it Adequate Beasts and where to find them. We'll find out after this weekend. My name is Sean O'Connell, the managing director of Cinema Blend, and on this week's show, we are finally going to complete our MCU tier list, something that we've been trying to get back to for a really long time. We're going to do phases 3 and 4, and we'll describe all that later. Fantastic Beasts, as I was joking, is going to hit theaters. Fantastic Beasts number 3. And we're playing our favorite films by Michael Peña when we get to the Michael Peña blend. But before we do all of that, let me introduce your co-hosts for the show, starting with Kevin McCarthy of Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. Hello, Kevin. How are you, sir?
Sean, good to see you. Jacob, is this Fantastic Beasts, like, is this the Goblet of Fire one? I can't remember. I don't even know which one this is anymore.
This is I'm joking.
Furious, there's
Furious
just so
7.
many of them. Oh yeah, okay. Is this the Fate of the Beasts?
Yes, James Wan directed this one.
Okay,
and
cool,
it is a digital Jude Law.
I could kind of get behind a James Wan
Now that sounds
Harry Potter universe.
Dude, a James Wan R-rated Malignant meets Harry Potter universe.
Strange that you picked Malignant of all of them.
Oh, I love Malignant.
It's just very specific compared to the rest of James Wan's.
Because isn't that his most recent film?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I rewatched it the other day, so
that's Gabe Kovach, the producer, who's jumping ahead of Jake Hamilton of Fox 32 in Chicago. Hello, Gabe and Jake. How are you guys?
Doing well. I would definitely love if there were like a ReelBlend movie trailer. I would want to be the and.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
I think the and is a cool spot.
Wait, is the and better or the with?
Well, with usually comes first, so it would be like with Gabe Kovach and Jake Hamilton.
Oh, so you and I
post, and then I would get like the stinger line in the trailer.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. On the poster, though, none of our matches or none of our names are
all the names
our...
would be off the face. Yeah, it would be Jake Hamilton above Kevin McCarthy, which is already confusing enough because I don't know if you guys saw that video. Apparently, Jake Gyllenhaal can't tell the difference between me and Kevin.
Yes,
and the other Kevin from Yahoo.
Kevin. Yeah,
also Ali Plum.
Yeah, I think Ali, Jake, Kevin from Yahoo, and myself should like get into a room together and just like try like do a bit. That would be really funny. Like the other day I saw, and this is again, I'm not comparing ourselves to late night shows, but I loved that Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel switched and did that bit. That was so funny to me. Anyways, random.
That is pretty funny. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, so you can see how similarly we all look. Thank you for joining us. Please head down, give us a like and a subscribe, turn on your notifications every time a new video posts. Fridays for new shows, Mondays for premium shows. You guys will be the first ones to hear about it. If you would like to sign up for ReelBlend Premium, get your ad-free version of the show, an extra segment every single week, and a newsletter written by me. Check the descriptions for information on where you can sign up. No real talking points to get to, so let's dive right into the tier list, Gabe. We want to have as much time as possible to do this. Yes,
questions
Kev,
before we start?
Give a quick update. So I am on I'm on episode I know I'm on episode 21 of season 3 of The Big Bang Theory.
Wow. Dang.
Wow. Wait, what's happening? What is kind of like the plot line that's happening right now?
So right now, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but obviously you know that Penny.
You haven't seen Big Bang yet. I'm assuming you don't care about being spoiled.
But Penny and Leonard are obviously dating now, and I'm waiting for. And my favorite thing about it, obviously, is Howard and Raj. Their relationship is hilarious, like their friendship. And then I know that I'm trying to remember now where. Sheldon just got an award, and he was afraid to give this speech, and then he got really hammered and went on stage and gave this speech, and it went on YouTube, and it's so funny. That whole bit. I think Parsons' performance in this show is one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. It is.
Oh,
agree with that.
No.
It is. No, I would agree with you, Kevin. I would agree with you.
That character is. I'll keep this brief, but like there's something about the dialogue delivery of every character in that show that I find brilliant. Howard, the character Howard, who plays him? Simon Helberg, right?
Helberg, yep.
That there's a darkness to the way he delivers his dialogue that is like right on the edge, but it's always really, really like interesting to the way he says it. And then Sheldon, his presence in a room, the way they look, the way they hold themselves and carry themselves in scenes. Leonard, the actor who plays Leonard, is that Johnny Galecki?
Yep, like, Johnny Galecki.
The way he looks up and the way he smiles, I'm like blown away by their performances because you spend so much time with these people. And every situation that they're in, I'm interested in. It doesn't matter if they're at work and they're eating lunch.
That's why they
they're
call it a situational.
I know.
I
but
would
there's
like to
something-
say that I've been playing the long con for about 3 years now because I always wanted to host a Big Bang Theory fan podcast.
No,
So
you
is it
didn't.
going to be you two and Quentin Tarantino?
Slowly, yes, it is actually. So it's slowly starting to work. So Gabe, if you'd like to produce, Sean, you're out. So
Wait, Gabe, have you seen it?
It's cool. Spared.
I've seen a number of episodes.
Dude, it is like it's my
but I've never
favorite
sat down and
thing
watched all of
now.
them.
Like I'm so with my ADD and everything. It's like that hour and a half of my day where I knock out 2 or 3 episodes is like my meditation.
That's
time.
nice. How about we just get into our tier list?
Let's do that. Good
All right,
idea.
Marvel tier list.
could we do a tier list of Big Bang Theory episodes?
No.
It is getting
But
better
maybe
every
we'll talk
season.
about it. Yeah, it is until it gets worse.
Didn't Parsons win 4 consecutive Emmys
Sounds right.
or something like that?
All right, folks.
insane.
And Marvel tier list. We are back
Yes.
finally. I'm going to give a quick update for the audio listeners. Check the description if you want to spoil yourself and see our finished tier list. But I'll give you a quick update. Last time we did phases 1 and 2, and now we are going to fill in with phases 3 and 4, and that includes the Disney Plus series.
I remember being like walking away feeling upset about this, but I'm looking at it now and I feel like everything, like I'm fairly decently okay with just about
It's
everything.
a little weird. So let me run through it. We have in the F tier, we have Thor: The Dark World.
I remember, yeah.
In
fair.
D, we have Iron Man 2.
Which I do not believe belongs there. But
Sure.
Okay.
Again, listen to our episode 200 to hear our full thoughts about how these ended.
Oh, that's when we did it? That's interesting.
Episode 200. Yes. So, and a reminder, all of these this was a discussion. The fun part is the discussion about how these ended up here. In the C tier, we have The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 3, and Avengers Age of Ultron. In the B tier, we have Iron Man, Captain America, the First Avenger, and Ant-Man. All the way up in A, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, the First Avengers, and Thor, which I think is probably the most surprising placement
That is
for anyone outside.
Seeing that
Show.
now.
That weirdly makes me happy because
I know, we decided to put it there. This is our list.
I've been an advocate for Kenneth Branagh's Thor for a long time, and I was happy that.
And then
that
our
placement.
sole S tier at the moment is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's fair.
Again, that is the best Marvel film so far. So, yeah. I mean, well,
We're gonna-
in this phase that we're talking
fair.
about.
Okay, yes, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Winter Soldier is actually still my number 1, but we can get to that later. Yeah, personally.
All right. Well, let's dive into phase 3. We're going to kick things off with Captain America: Civil War.
That's an S for me, to be honest with you. I'm going to jump in there and just say
S?
that's top 5. That's top
Yeah.
5 Marvel for me.
I agree with
Daenerys
Jake
agrees?
because Daenerys agrees. Well, also Civil War is basically I would argue the 3rd best Avengers movie, right? Because you got Infinity
It
War.
is. You're right. It
one.
is basically an Avengers movie.
It's 100%.
And to
It's
be
missing
honest with
2
you,
Avengers, and like that's it.
right?
And
I think
introduces
Civil-
2 more, right? It introduces
Yeah.
both.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, we get Black Panther introduction, and we get
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. And honestly, like, it's funny because you go back to that release of that film, and the promotion for that film gave the Spidey cameo away, which I thought was so interesting to me because, and I get it, it's a great selling point. It helps push the narrative forward. But also, if you take a step back and actually remember that time when Civil War came out, like you're talking about 2 studios, right, that had to come to an agreement to use this character of Spider-Man. And I mean, that was unheard of. I can't even imagine or can't even believe that still happened.
Yeah.
That they were able to agree that and have Spider-Man jump over into this Disney film. But it's just fascinating. But Civil War, no question.
If you would like to hear the full story of how that happened,
I would.
There's a book coming out on November 1st.
Now I would like to read that.
Sean, we have 2 S's. Where are you putting it?
Here's the only reason why I would hold off on calling it an S, because initially I'm with you guys. I think that this is an S also, but Gabe's gonna yell at us eventually if we have too many S's, right? Like, isn't
But
that gonna
Gabe
be the
specifically
issue?
said not to do that. Gabe specifically said not to judge stuff by looking ahead and thinking of where you're going to put it later.
So,
S. I say it's an S.
you're saying S? I'm okay with S. I think
mean,
it's hard to say it's not an S because it does so much.
The
And
airport
it's so
scene
good.
alone
It's great.
is the airport scene alone. You can't.
T'Challa's fantastic.
Yeah, the way they introduced Black Panther and Wakanda, you know, in the middle of this movie.
Spider-Man is great because it's Spider-Man, and it is a perfect introduction, and he has some great scenes, but like T'Challa is even better.
Oh, yeah.
And also, if
tremendous.
you can't really read the font for where each location is, they make it really big.
They do.
So you know
It's
exactly
helpful.
where it is.
True, that was
very
nice.
New York.
Queens.
Queens.
I kind of like their title cards in that sense. But
Accessible title cards.
Yeah. But also, like,
Yeah,
I think
I love that look.
It's like a chapter. But another scene in that film that I think is really powerful, that's kind of, it's not an action scene. It's when Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are in that boardroom again, and they're essentially going over the reason why they're split and the Avengers have to stop. I always found that to be a really fascinating storyline, but those two in that scene, just really powerful. That's why the Marvel films are so great. And this is not something that's new. But one thing we have to remember when we think about these Marvel films is, like, people always say, oh, Hollywood is inundated with superheroes in Marvel films. The greatest actors that are working right now are working in these movies. Like, we're talking about Downey is a masterclass actor. Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, Elizabeth Olsen,
Oscar
Paul
Isaac
Bettany.
and Ethan Hawke are crushing it in Moon Knight right now.
We're talking about the best caliber. I mean, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis and Bradley Cooper's in the MCU. I mean, he's the best. He's an amazing actor. I'm sorry. He is an amazing
I still
actor.
think a flashback with Tom Hanks' Uncle Ben would be amazing.
All right, let's keep it moving. We have Doctor Strange up next.
S.
Jesus, 2 S's in a row?
I would have said
It's not
I
S
would
for
have
me.
said A.
I would have said B.
I would say B. I don't
okay
love
with A.
Doctor Strange.
I would have said B, but I could go up to an A because it is visually different.
Yeah,
so
for me,
visually
that's,
different than anything
for
that
me,
we've
that's
seen.
why. I mean, honestly,
That's
if
a
I
pretty
were to,
weak
if I were
reason to
to
give it a whole bump, though.
Well, no, it's
honestly,
first of all,
if I were to break, I would probably go. I would push it down to B before elevating it to S. Because for me, I'm with Sean that for me, it's all about the visuals. If you guys don't think visuals is enough to put it in the A tier, then I say bump it to B.
Okay, so I originally said S because it is one of my top 10 MCU films. I think A is a good compromise. I think the visual language of it is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. It's the best looking Marvel film up to the point of that when that film came out. Nothing had visually looked that good in terms of special effects.
So different.
On top of that, though, the
don't love
origin
it.
story. Okay, well, the origin story I think is phenomenal.
It's Iron Man, isn't it?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but I love his. Here's why I love the film. And I'll tell you why. It's more about Benedict's arc. I think Benedict Cumberbatch's performance in that film was brilliant. As the film opens, we're in that surgery room. He's going over his pretentious numbers about album dates. And then that character gets in that horrible car crash, and that makes him vulnerable. And he can't not be vulnerable in his mind. He's like, I have to be strong. I got to figure out how to get the surgery. But as the film goes on, he slowly breaks down and becomes
Dude, you
the
could
Doctor
take this
Strange.
description and tell me you're talking about Iron Man, and it would fit perfectly.
I actually disagree with you. I think Tony Stark's arc isn't as emotionally brilliant as Cumberbatch's. I think Tony Stark kind of stays the same throughout the MCU. He has his ups and downs and his emotions, but at the end of the day, he's still that
He
Tony
definitely
Stark.
doesn't stay the same.
I feel like he does until like
He becomes a
obviously until
father, and
Endgame.
he becomes completely selfless. That's the
I'm
whole.
not
That's
saying
his
that
arc.
I'm not saying it's a one note performance. I'm saying that Tony Stark still is Tony Stark even when he's gone through the emotional arc or the
Well,
emotional.
so is Stephen
Stark.
Strange. Stephen Strange is still an asshole.
I don't agree that he's an asshole
Scooby Doo
anymore.
that shit is him
That's
being
a
an
joke.
asshole. It's a joke in the movie, but it's him being that
Well,
guy.
I
agree.
Because he's mad that
He's not the
Spider-Man just
same.
made him break a spell that opened up the universe
Okay,
that brought in
I know.
villains.
Yeah. But you're talking about why he's that. I'm just saying he's in the same way that Tony Stark is not selfish, but he's still quippy and arrogant. Stephen Strange is also still Stephen Strange.
Okay.
He's more well-rounded. That's
All right, then-
I agree that he has an arc. I'm not saying it's a trash movie. I'm saying it's a B. But we can go with A if you feel S A.
I would break closer to. Sean, where are you at?
Michael Giacchino's score.
Yeah, I was gonna. Okay, here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say B initially, but I'm probably leaning closer to A because I think Tilda Swinton, I think, is fantastic as the Ancient
Yes. Yes.
She's a great choice.
Chiwetel's great.
I really do think that the visual language of the way that they convey his powers and the different realms that he can access is kind of pivotal to how they, like, the entire way that they do the fight in reverse at the end is really fantastic.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, Mads is a great villain. Benedict Wong is a tremendous addition to it. Like and the casting of Benedict as Doctor Strange is like not as good as Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, but it's up there. Like it's pretty much up there. So for all those reasons, I'm giving it. I'd go A.
And I will clarify, like obviously, like Tony is not a one note, but I do believe that Cumberbatch's arc is stronger in the first Doctor Strange versus the first Iron Man. That's all.
Doctor Strange. We'll put it at an A.
Clearly, Tony gets a crazy emotional arc towards Endgame. That's a different story, though.
I wish we had more of the gratuitously selfish surgeon in Doctor Strange. To like, I mean, we only get a scene of him, before his accident.
You get that one scene, but then you also get the way he is when he wakes up from the accident, and he's still an ass until he is thrown into the streets. Basically, when he goes to the moment he goes to that basketball court and he meets that guy who walked away from, the moment his arc shifts, it's that guy in physical therapy who calls him out. And he goes, oh, I had a guy walk in here one day and he walked out and then he was walking again. And that guy calls him out on his BS in that moment.
Yeah. And is that Benjamin Bratt? It was Benjamin Bratt, wasn't it?
No, it's the gentleman. Benjamin Bratt's the guy playing basketball. The guy that is at physical therapy is like a gentleman who works there who's trying to help him with his hands and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Chiquito score also.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That's a C.
C?
Yeah.
If Guardians of the Galaxy is an A, I feel like Volume 2 is a B.
No.
You think it's a C?
My only
C.
The one thing about 2 that I loved was Michael Rooker's character. Michael Rooker's arc was amazing.
I'm just saying we're putting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 on the level of the Incredible Hulk. I just want us to think about that. Age of Ultron. It's Age of Ultron.
It is one of the MCU movies I never rewatch. I just don't rewatch it. I don't think it's that interesting of a story.
No.
I think the third act is a colossal CGI.
Agreed.
Clusterfuck.
Insert MCU movie. But okay,
fine.
All right.
It's more gratuitous here.
The way that they separate the team made it like there's a mission with Rocket and but Baby Groot is really cute. Like,
Baby Groot is great. The father-son stuff is great.
Yeah, but you get Baby Groot.
That's what keeps it from being a D.
He has to kill his dad.
Yeah, that didn't resonate the way that I think that they wanted it to.
But Yondu is that's the best arc in that film. Like,
I would agree with that.
Well, what's funny is he
finds out he had a dad all along. That's amazing.
Well, they gave Rooker. They gave Rooker basically the storyline that they gave Rooker the ability to branch out like they did with Hawkeye in Ultron, which I don't think worked in Ultron.
The family aspect.
But I liked this going out and kind of giving him more of a arc. It's definitely a C.
You guys all say C? Jeez.
Yeah,
it wasn't that good.
Wow.
It was fine.
James Gunn, we still want to have you on the show.
It was fine. It's okay.
It was fine as a B though. Look at these C's. Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron, and Incredible Hulk.
That's what I
actually.
To me, that fits perfectly.
Wow.
I really like Age of Ultron, and I really like Incredible Hulk.
I really like. Yeah, I would say I still think Hulk should be higher, but
Hulk should be a D.
You should be a D. You are a D.
I agree with that.
I know. I think Hulk's too high.
I completely disagree, but I'm outmatched.
You know we've landed on a good order whenever we all walk away unhappy.
Yeah.
Right.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
S.
Yeah, I put that S too.
You guys were gonna say that.
A.
But my problem is that like the next 3 out of 4, and I know we're not supposed to do this. The next 3 out of 4, I want to make S's, so I don't know what to do.
I think
Homecoming is an S.
I think it's an A. I think it's an A. But the scene in the limo with Keaton and Holland is an S, but it's not enough.
Gabe, what are your thoughts? I think Homecoming is better than everything we have in the A category, but it's worse than everything we have in the S category.
I think
I don't know what that means.
I think S should be special. I think S should be definitive.
Is that what
Here's
S
my
stands
problem with Homecoming. That entire boat sequence is really terrible CGI. It's not
No,
good
it's
CG. Oh, it's not good CG. When with
I
Iron
don't-
Man,
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being bad.
I don't love us harping too much on CGI for these kinds of. It just, I don't know. It seems like kind of because CGI is always eventually all CGI is gonna not look great as we get more and more
I
real.
also think it looks
just,
really good.
as long as the story works. I don't know. That's my own personal business, but
Here's my defense of Homecoming. I think it's the best interpretation of Spider-Man in a universe where all of those characters already exist.
Yes.
They bring him up to speed almost instantly. I don't even mind making Tony Stark his mentor. Like, I think that that's okay for the way that they introduce him.
It's great.
I don't love the technical suit, like the suit with all the bells and whistles, because
Agreed.
I just think Spider-Man is supposed to be a
kid.
you know, a kid who's cash strapped and sewing his own uniform, and that's essentially why I think the final moments of No Way Home is like my favorite, thing that I've ever seen.
so you're gonna have all three of these in the S tier. Is that what you're telling me?
Far
No
From
Way
Home is not an
Home-
S. Not for
We'll
sure.
get
it's
there.
not
We'll
an
get
S.
there. We'll get there.
But Michael Keaton is a tremendous villain. I love the way that they made him a villain that is based off of the Battle of New York and his ability to want to clean up the area and getting trumped by Tony Stark and damage control. The design of the Vulture suit is terrific. All the kids that they've surrounded him with in Homecoming are fantastic. Like Ned Leeds gets on my nerves eventually, but he's amazing in the first movie. Zendaya is great in the first movie. It's terrific. It's fantastic from top to bottom. Tom Holland, if you guys haven't gone back and rewatched it in a long time, like he's perfect. He's perfect Peter Parker.
He is.
in that movie.
And Homecoming is better than Far From Home.
But Civil War
Yes.
is better than Homecoming.
Well, yeah, it is, but I think that they're still on it. They're all S level movies.
I mean, Homecoming
we're
is
not-
top
we're not-
5 MCU for me, so I feel like by definition that would put it
It's
in
S.
the.
That's pretty okay. Yeah, my point was just I think S should be. If you're on the fence, then it should be an A, just because S should be hard to get into. I think because they're especially with
understand.
Marvel because there's so many good movies.
Okay, I mean, then I guess I would. Okay, then by that definition, I would put it in A.
But you two say S. I feel S.
I feel A.
Ooh.
I've been
two
saying
S's
A.
and two A's.
But I'm on the fence between A and S, so I don't know
Yeah,
if that
I feel
puts
like it makes
if that
it
puts
an
it
S.
over the fence.
I guess it makes it an S. We're 2.5 S's.
Well,
I
I'm
like
gonna-
it as an S. I like it as an S. I think it's great.
Now, here's the problem: is that I want this next one to be an S.
I think Thor
No way.
Ragnarok is an S.
no way.
Oh, it's a B.
Absolutely.
It's a B.
I know
It's
Kevin
a
doesn't
B.
like it.
You cannot
and
give
I
this a
think it's
B
an
in Doctor
A.
Strange an A. But in
Dude,
Doctor
oh,
Strange for its visuals
Oh
an
my
A.
God,
Doctor
Strange.
Strange.
Strange down.
Doctor Strange destroys Ragnarok. It's
No.
not even.
Disagree.
They're not even on the same level. Oh my
I don't
God.
think we have. I don't think we can rehash this. We just have to accept that you have completely different feelings about Ragnarok than
Kevin
I
doesn't
do,
like
but-
the humor of Ragnarok, and that's a serious concern. Like if he doesn't like the
Yeah,
humor
no.
of it, then the movie doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
I mean,
funny.
it's a-
I
it's a
do
comedy.
love the humor.
That's
So where
fine.
are we?
I
I'm
think
at an A. I'd be at an A with Ragnarok.
I couldn't go
And-
lower than an A. Never lower
Absolutely
than
not.
an
I would say S, and I would begrudgingly agree to an A.
A. It's
Ragnarok
it's amazing.
It's not even top 15 MCU.
For
It's not
you.
even
That's
top-
fine. That's fine.
Dude,
I
it's
understand
top-
that it doesn't
it's
work
top
for
5.
you, but I can't.
Yeah, it's a bummer it doesn't work for you, but you're very much in the minority on that.
Let me
But I don't
see.
mind being in the minority. I'm also in the
I'm
minority
not-
about Christopher
not blaming
Nolan's
you-
movies.
not blaming
but
you
that's
for being in the
fine.
minority
I
on
don't
that.
mind.
I want to pull up my list because I think I have it top 10, and in which case I have it top 10. I could.
Ragnarok
no,
is not
no,
even
I don't.
Close
I
to
don't.
top 10.
I don't even have a top 15, to be honest
It's
with
not,
you.
Wow.
it's not top 15. I'm telling you, it's not.
In which
It
case
is,
I would
though.
have to go. I'm gonna go A comfortably.
I like
And,
A. I'll take A. I
right,
think
we'll
it
see.
should be an
Fine.
S, but
I also think it should be an S.
I think it's
definitely not. None of the Thor movies should be S's.
well, no. This one is the one that I would put up for it if I had to.
Yeah.
This is the one I put because you guys just had that conversation about how Doctor Strange is this whole new visual thing. Like
Yeah.
Thor
and
Ragnarok
way
is a
better.
complete. Thor Ragnarok is a complete. My point is not that you like it. My point is that it is definitively and inarguably a completely different entry into the MCU and a completely different entry for Thor. And it doesn't work for you, and that's fine. That's that's a personal opinion, and I complete respect for that. But it has that it has that notch on the belt of like it's a completely fresh take. In the
Yeah,
MCU.
It is.
Like
It is.
all the reasons you guys were complimenting Doctor Strange,
That's
you
my
can't
point.
compliment Doctor Strange without also complimenting Ragnarok.
You know what's also better than Ragnarok? Ant-Man. The first
We're
one.
not there yet.
Yeah.
Oh no, we
Stop.
are there. We did Iron Man.
No, we didn't have that.
It's kind of fun. All right, I think we're sold on A. I think it sounds like what it balances out to.
Basically, my vote doesn't count.
What'd you say? Didn't you say B?
No, it
You said
does.
B.
Like your
I know,
vote
I'm
brought
joking,
it down
I'm
because we wanted S's.
Yeah.
Oh, you
I
all
would
wanted
not
S's?
allowed to be.
Well, no,
he
I
said
was
A.
at Sean
Sean
wanted
A.
A. Gabe and I wanted S.
Two
See, Sean,
S's.
I think Sean's closer to a B than we think.
I would lean.
Either
I would
way,
lean
it's still an A.
closer to B, but I still say it's A.
Either way, it's an A if he
So
says
split the difference.
Here's one thing. Here's a thing that separates it a little bit for me that doesn't make it as groundbreaking or as different. It doesn't introduce new characters in the way that that other MCU movies do. It plays with a lot of the characters that we already knew. It's more Loki. It's a different version of Hulk, but it's more Hulk basically. Hela is an interesting villain, but I don't think they did enough with her necessarily. And Valkyrie's a good addition, but not to the level where I'm like, this is a tremendous, sign of growth for the MCU.
But
It's
I
a
feel
good
like what they
standalone-
did to the character of Thor himself changed him in such a way that made him an infinitely better character within the
not
MCU.
more than Infinity War, though. Oh, and some people will tell you that funny Thor is not the way to go.
Yes, I don't like the humor in Ragnarok. I think the action's
love
good.
now, do you have a? Well, we've discussed this before.
I think it's funny.
I love Taika Waititi humor.
Yeah, same.
I loved him in Free Guy. I loved.
Weirdly enough, I
liked
did not
Jojo
like him
Rabbit.
in Free Guy.
Oh, I loved him in Free Guy. So we're on the opposite sides of what we like about Taika. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's true. All right, now on to Black Panther.
That's a B for me.
Oh, you think B? So for me,
Wow.
it has. I don't think I could go lower than an A.
I'm gonna go A because of Killmonger.
I was gonna say Killmonger to me is the best villain in the MCU. I think he's the most human villain in the MCU. He has
Him
the
and
most.
Thanos.
Thanos is great, but Thanos feels very. They're different in the sense that Killmonger feels very real. Killmonger feels very one of us and human, and like he has very real stakes. Whereas Thanos is a bit. He's very much comic book, larger than life, and this grand things, which are great. They're two different things.
I think
Killmonger to me
my
is just a little
issue
bit more
with Black
exciting.
Panther is that it's one of those scenarios in which Black Panther is unfortunately the least interesting character in the Black Panther movie.
I see
Does
what
that
you're
matter?
saying.
I mean, if
but-
the movie's
but
good, the movie's good.
I understand what you're saying, but Chadwick is so good.
He's
so
he is, of course.
good in the
Yeah.
part that I can't knock it below an A.
Also,
but he-
Ludwig's score was amazing.
Great score.
That entire
The way they
Warner-
recorded that score is amazing.
Yeah, and the Wonder fight in the casino is it a casino?
Yeah.
Is incredible.
Mhm.
and the car chase after is really
Car
great.
chase
Yeah.
is great.
And we mentioned CGI, so we should mention. I
It is a
don't think
bummer.
I don't think the waterfall stuff looked great, but
In the final act, a lot of the final, and this isn't a matter of like, well, it doesn't look as good as it did when it came out. It was actively not good CGI when it hit theaters.
yeah, and
And
then
there was
I
always
blame-
that rumor that it was because of Infinity War that
I
they
blame
put all their
Infinity War
resources.
for that.
Yeah.
but I also
The context, the artistic context of that fight, the story behind it, the story
Yes.
about like him alluding to the Underground Railroad in America with the
Sure.
Underground Railroad in Wakanda, like all that stuff is so rich. He has one of the most rich palettes of symbolism.
I mean,
and
I'm not gonna like
in the MCU.
I mean, I like I said, for me it was a B, but like I'm not so passionate about it being a B that I'm gonna like throw a fit if it's an A. Like I'm perfectly
yeah.
fine with it being an A.
I think A has to happen because for me personally.
I'm borderline S, but I totally am happy with an A.
I think I'm on. Well, see, I wouldn't go S because probably some of the CG, but overall, in terms of like because what Gabe was saying, my two favorite MCU villains, hands down, are Thanos and Killmonger, and I think Killmonger. I remember talking to Michael B. Jordan about that at the junket about like the layered aspect of his character. I mean, the guy has scars on his body for over 100 people or so he's killed, but I care so much about him at the end of the film and kind of what he went through. And like Gabe was saying, there's like the brilliance of Killmonger's arc from childhood to death, which I don't think he's really dead, but we can argue that later. I just think it's a brilliant performance. I think it's one of the greatest characters in a comic book film that I've ever seen. That's why I have to put it in A, because he's just amazing.
We all agree on the A, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think the way that they realized Wakanda is very similar to the way that they realized Asgard, and they're both completely different, but believable in the scenarios in which they're presented. And it makes me think when they finally do like a Submariner movie that Atlantis is going to be pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Ryan Coogler.
Coogler's great, but I love the debate of we have all of this really precious material, and we have this amazing skill set as Wakandans. Do we keep it for ourselves, or do we share it with the rest of the world? That to me was one of the most interesting dynamics holding up the middle of a movie in the MCU. So
one of my biggest complaints about Black Panther, and I guess it's not really a complaint because he's just so good. I wish Andy Serkis's character continued somehow because he was so fascinating. Like I loved the great chaotic performance. Oh, it was awesome. That whole chaotic energy.
He's one of the best character actors working in the sense that he's so good at just building a complete visually, mannerisms, speech, everything. He just builds a really fleshed out.
Also,
character.
I'm getting chills thinking about just that scene when Michael B. Jordan walks into the room in Wakanda for the first time and he says, "Hey, Auntie."
Yeah.
I mean, and just also like Ludwig's score, even early on when the beginning is amazing when he drops into that fight at nighttime for Chadwick's character. But when Michael B. Jordan's character, that initial part where they're robbing that museum of whatever it is, that there's like this hip hop bass score that plays there that was so awesome. I just love the way Ludwig found this really awesome tone for his score, and it really set it apart from any other film in the MCU. I thought it was awesome.
He's great. We have that firmly in A, and we move on to Avengers Infinity War.
S.
Yeah, that's an S.
Can we is there anything higher than an S?
Again, this is the issue with putting all these other ones at S, is you look at this and you go, oh, is there one better than this?
So this is the point that I'm trying to make. Do you guys really think Infinity War is the same level as Homecoming?
It's not about it being the same level. It's not about them being exactly the same.
I don't think Ragnarok is the same level as Thor 1, but they're on the same level.
Yeah. Okay, again. It's
we
the
can
wrong
do this all
argument.
day.
Thor 1's better than Ragnarok.
There's nuance within each tier, boys. There's
Infinity War is an S. It's a flawless movie. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's interesting. We talk about favorite and best on this show. Infinity War is the best film that the MCU's ever made.
Correct.
Just from a pure editing, pacing, performance, storytelling.
Can't argue with that.
Do you have any idea how hard that is to juggle all of those characters?
Yeah.
Impossible.
I also found it interesting. I know we talk about Endgame a lot in the show, but and this is not like groundbreaking what I'm about to say, but you think about the task the Russos had to end that arc of 23 whatever films and somehow bring emotionally driven arcs to every single one of them. Even Black Panther walking through the portal, that's an arc. Like the whole thing is like incredible. It is.
Yeah. And I do not want to steal any focus away from Joe and Anthony Russo. They absolutely are.
The writers.
They were great for what they are. But Marvel is a, and I'm reading that two-pronged Marvel Studios, the history of, like, so much of what sets them apart is how there are so many core voices at the top, and it's Feige and it's Lou Esposito and it's Victoria Alonso and it's all these people who make these decisions because they're paying attention to every detail. And I find that fascinating because you're right. Like there shouldn't be all those moments that hit the way that they hit. And they talked, this is really interesting because I'm at the pretty early stages of it. And they said in years past, when a blockbuster would run into an issue, they would hire a script doctor or bring in additional editors. And Marvel was the first one that was like, nobody understands this material better than we do. So we're going to hunker down and fix what doesn't work right now. And that's what has helped all of their movies and kept them, and some will say they're all sort of generic or formulaic or they fit the Marvel mold. But I think it's Marvel doing what they do best. And that's what's led to this saga, essentially. So
also what's really fascinating to me,
unanimous S, right?
Yeah. Yes. I do want to mention one more thing. Going back to the Russos for a second, in terms of, I'm bringing up CGI again just for a different reason. The majority of the behind the scenes footage I saw for Infinity War was just all these characters on this gigantic green screen with pieces of sets, right? And I know that that's filmmaking. Filmmaking is magic. Filmmaking is creating the world and bringing us into it. But if you're the Russos, right, and you are the directors of Endgame and Infinity War, and the director's job is to go up to the actor and talk them through the scene and walk with them a bit, right, and kind of like make it make sense. To me, that's why they're so brilliant, because if you're juggling dozens of people on a green screen, it's actually going to end up being this planet or this moment or Thor's entrance into Wakanda,
Right.
and that all works somehow. That for these actors to make sense of it, your director has to be so good that they have to make you. And that, to me, that's the fascinating part about these Marvel films, is that they're so grounded, but they're really big CGI fests, and it's really an interesting thing to think about. So that's hard work.
Let's move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp. C or D feels right.
D. I'm okay on D. I didn't love Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
I love the first one.
When I was doing my rewatch back through, it was a skippable one.
The chase scene with the chase scene with the smaller,
I didn't hate it. It's just very okay.
Yeah. I think you could.
I think it's a D.
I'm okay with a C. I think
it's not D.
Right.
I guess I would say C, but like edging toward B.
Yeah, it's not as good as the first Ant-Man.
B? Get out of here.
I like it better than the first Ant-Man.
Oh, do you really?
Yes.
It does nothing new. It was in a tough spot, though, right? In it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean from the gimmick? I thought you meant
all of the
MCU
gimmicks and
wise.
tricks. Yeah, I don't mean story wise. I mean like the interesting things that come of it are still just I'm making something bigger or smaller in the middle of a fight, like a salt shaker or fill in the blank. Like the most interesting thing to it is them getting sucked into him getting trapped in the quantum realm, and them disintegrating. And that's
this is the second episode we've dedicated to ranking Marvel movies. Tell me the value of doing new stuff.
What are you talking about?
I take that as a direct insult to me.
I'm joking.
Rewinding back to the earlier part of the conversation, Michael Douglas is in the MCU.
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah,
and Michelle Pfeiffer.
High caliber.
Glenn Close.
Wait, Glenn Close.
She's in the first Guardians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
with John C. Reilly.
Robert Redford is in the MCU, for God's sakes.
Robert Redford's great in the MCU.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say C. We can do C.
Fine.
I like C for it. Again, I like it.
It's not a D. It's not a D.
I like it. I just never really want to rewatch. Like, I'm like, oh, it's fun. And it has some good stuff.
It's completely forgettable.
You guys should watch Ant-Man 1 again.
I'm good.
I have multiple times. It's fine.
I tried. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a C.
It's fine.
No, it's a
All right, we have a few left in this phase. Captain Marvel.
That is honestly, that's a C for me.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of bland MCU.
Yeah.
It took us back to phase 1. It's like phase 1, which I know we have a lot of phase 1s that are up here, but
yeah. I'm going to say C as well. So two things I want to point out. One, I
think she's great in the character.
She's great. That's exactly what I was about to say. She's great, but the film has no voice in terms of direction. It felt like it was just pieced together like cookie cutter in terms of like, okay, this goes here, this goes there. Also, I found some of the editing to be clunky. But I will say, and this is just a personal thing, and I don't think this merits it going any higher, but it does have one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos because
it's a good one.
Mallrats,
that's a great one.
Which one's his in this?
So he's reading the Mallrats script in the 90s.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And because to me, my favorite Stan Lee cameo ever is in Mallrats when he talks to Jason Lee.
Is he playing Stan Lee in that cameo?
Yeah.
He's Stan Lee as Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Is that the only time he ever plays himself? No.
So yeah. In Captain Marvel.
In Captain Marvel. Is he reading the script like, am I going to cameo in Mallrats?
Yes.
So is that the only time he's ever played Stan Lee in the MCU? Versus being a watcher or being a guy, guy on a thing?
Yeah, I think so.
That's kind of cool. I agree with you. That's a great one.
That was my favorite part of that whole movie, which is probably not a good thing because that movie... I do want to mention...
It's just very okay.
Lashana Lynch is really good in it.
She's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
is she coming back? Are we going back at all to...
No, she dies.
So
what does that mean anything?
True.
One of the fascinating things I found about Captain Marvel, though, is this. If you look at the way the Russos use the character in Endgame, I feel like they understood the character better.
Sorry, I'm going to interject.
Yeah.
Sean, what is the Marvels?
It's a Captain Marvel sequel, essentially.
Right.
But it's going to be...
Is it going to have...
in Miss Marvel, who we will meet in a TV show before that, Kamala Khan.
Kamala, right?
And it's going to pull in the character we met in WandaVision, whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Yeah.
Tiana Paris.
Tiana Paris.
Oh, I like her.
I forget her.
What's her character's
name?
It's like...
I don't know.
It's like some kind of signal thing, Flash, something...
Yeah, she's going to be in the Marvels. And
she was
Miss
great.
Marvel is going to be in the Marvels. But that's the thing. When she came back and when her character came back from dusting in WandaVision, Lashana Lynch's character was in her hospital bed and she had died.
That's right. Yeah.
She was in the hospital bed when she dusted away. And when she returned, her mom had been dead for 5 years.
That's right.
I also
maybe she'll come back into some flashbacks.
She could.
She's great.
I don't mean to go backwards here, but I just was looking at the tier list. I also have to mention for Black Panther another reason why it's soundtrack. Kendrick Lamar's soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that's album of the year that year. Could have been
unbelievable album. And it fit the movie perfectly.
All right, let's keep it moving. We're putting Captain Marvel at C, right?
It's a C.
C for Captain Marvel. Avengers Endgame.
Yes. Here's where we fight.
Because Jake thinks it's an A, right?
Oh,
or does Jake think it's a B?
Jake probably thinks it's a C.
Jake, what do you think it is?
That's a B.
Wow. Endgame.
I gotta go S.
I mean, it's they do a time heist and they go into another Marvel movie and do a time heist, and that's a B.
And that's not even the crescendo,
dude. Like the Battle of New York when they jumped in there for the first time.
This is the one that I accepted that like my vote's gonna have no weight to it. So
I
absolutely do not believe it should be an S. But if it ends up an S, there's nothing.
It's gonna be impossible for it to be an S. I guess I don't know.
I can list reasons why it's an S. The elevator scene going again.
I would say you're listing scenes that I'm fully aware exist, but it's not going to change my opinion on them.
That's okay. But
here's the thing: when we have the favorite versus best conversation, I have accepted the fact that Endgame qualifies as my favorite or one of my, well, now No Way Home tops it. But I can understand that some people might not think it's the best because, getting through a lot of the stuff that has to happen in the first half of it takes a while. But the culmination of it, like everything that happens from the moment that they confront Thanos with the 3 original Avengers, with Cap having to, his shield being broken.
The final act is fantastic. The final battle,
everything.
but there's a lot of stuff about to me. It just, if we're talking about comparing it to Infinity War, it just doesn't flow as well. It doesn't hit the beats as well.
But I think that's why they're 2 different movies, though. I think it's a different tone,
and one's better than the other.
Okay, all right.
and what Infinity War does, all the things we listed, all that we liked about it, I don't think Endgame does as well. And I really, really, really dislike Fat Thor.
I think
that's weird.
That's
wild.
That's a.
He's funny. He's just a fun character.
Endgame is not the time to be funny. You had 22 movies to be funny.
What do you mean? They were funny in all of them. Every Marvel movie is sense of humor in it.
But the last time we met these guys, we killed off half their friends. But
it's years gone. They've that's the idea. Is it's years have passed, and they're trying to
weird tone. It's like after Empire Strikes Back making a movie with little furry bears.
I feel like it took 6 months for a worldwide pandemic to start to feel like, oh, this is just what life has always been like, and they were dealing with the snap for 5 years. I think they can laugh.
Aside from the humor, which was Kevin's excuse for not loving Ragnarok. Aside from the humor, which I don't like, I just don't think that it edits or flows or for me as rewatchable of a film.
Here's why
this is what I'm going to do. Next year, I'm going to play the Oscars game. And when I win, Kevin is getting locked in a room. He's watching Ragnarok 3 times in a row. And Jake is watching Endgame.
Well, you have to beat perfection because that was my last score, man.
You love it.
It's an S for the scene where Paul Rudd is eating a taco and the Quinjet lands and blows everything out of it.
I also don't like I don't like the new Hulk. I forget what he's called. I don't like
Smart Hulk,
Professor Hulk. Yeah, I don't like that.
I was sitting down with the Russos for Endgame. It was after the release, so I could ask of anything I wanted to ask. Right. And I brought the tacos. I had to. The taco scene is hilarious.
Are we going to capitulate? A little taco?
The wind and the lettuce flying everywhere. It's amazing.
Question: are we going to capitulate and go with A? Do we all 3 think S?
Gabe, you're at S?
I would. Yeah, I'd probably put it. I don't know why I would. I don't know what I would knock it for.
I think it's an S too.
I enjoy it.
It is without question the greatest theatrical experience I have ever had.
That was at the premiere.
For that alone, Jake, alone, it has to be an S.
This makes it like an A++ technically, but we don't have that tier. So
it's an S.
I mean, I put it at an S. 3-1. Do I go through? I know I usually do the math. I try to average, but the average here is so way above an A.
I'm just gonna start throwing out arbitrary S's just to throw off the grade curve.
That's not fun. All right, we're gonna put it at an S.
Well, this next one's an S too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna call it that. Let's get through this last one before we take a break. But we have Spider-Man: Far From Home rounding out
S for me.
This phase.
That's a B for me.
I think it's a B.
You think it's a B?
I think it's okay. I'm okay with it being a B.
Kevin, you think it's an A though because it's about film. It's filmmaking. I know you love that part, right? Which I agree with. It's great.
It's amazing. That movie's incredible.
But I think it's
or an S. I think
strong.
it's an S.
I'm an A or B. To me, the a lot of the like twists and turns are really projected. They're like really, you can clock those early about like who's going to do what.
And there's for every sequence that works, and there are quite a few sequences. There are some that are just like the whole thing with him on the bus and like distracting people, like, oh, look, a goat, and he jumps out and he has to get the drone.
It sort of rehashes a lot of.
Well, that just sort of feels like what you got. The movie wasn't long enough, and you had to like add a sequence. You had to add something to do with the. There's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't.
We
work
all like it though. I think we all like it.
It's a B.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at an S, so I don't know where we're going with it, but that's where I'm at.
I think it puts us at an A because I'm feeling A. Wait, Sean, what did you say?
I said a B.
You said a B.
I actually do kind of think it's a B. Because
we
wouldn't
have two B's, an S, and an A.
I thought he said A, so
I wouldn't put it on the level, and I really love it, and I'm a Spider-Man junkie, but I wouldn't put it on the level of the movies that are on A right now.
And I would say since we're doing pluses and minuses, I would say it's a B minus.
But we're not doing pluses and minuses.
Well, we did pluses and minuses when it helped Endgame.
No, I said it technically like at the averages makes it around there.
Okay,
but it doesn't exist.
Average.
The average here is like a B++, right?
Yeah.
So
B plus. I'm like a B plus.
But it's like a B++, which when we did that for Endgame, we put it.
Gyllenhaal's terrific.
I think it's an A. I think we have to put it with an S and an A, and I can't be convinced of an S, but it's a firm A.
That does not belong in that. Look at that A. Look at that A tier. You tell me that belongs there.
It does.
That is not
a B though.
A B. That is
not a B.
Far From Home. Look at A. It does not belong there.
Well, wait, Gabe said we can't compare what's on the tier. We're just judging what the movie is.
Since when do we listen to Gabe on this show?
It's true.
He's been telling you guys to rap for 4 years.
It's not wrong.
Move it to A.
Ugh.
I think it's got to be an A.
We've been underutilizing the B category. You guys are.
You're right.
You guys have been flexing with the A too much.
We got one coming up. We can use a B for.
We're gonna get a bunch of them coming up.
But I think I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence here. If it's a B or an A, it's not an S. I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm not leaning on the S.
That doesn't belong there. That's glowingly not belonging there.
It's way better than Ragnarok, and it deserves to be on that same list.
I disagree with that. No, I disagree with that. All right, that's going to bring us to the end of Phase 3. We're going to take a quick ad break, pay some bills. We'll be back with Phase 4, which includes the Disney Plus TV shows, which will make this discussion maybe a little bit harder, maybe a little bit easier. But we'll be right back. And we are back. We are back with Phase 4, and kicking us off, we're right into the TV of all TV, WandaVision.
Here's where we're probably going to have a problem.
This is going to be difficult because I think we're pretty split on this.
Yeah.
It's a good B for me.
It's an A.
I like it as a B. I like it as a B.
I'm a B because the first 3 episodes are amazing and then it falls off.
It does fall off, but I don't think it falls. For me, it doesn't fall off as strongly as it does for you. I still enjoyed it through the end. The ending is kind of okay.
Yeah.
I love that the sort of
back up, Jimmy.
Marvel spent that much money to just study grief for a little bit and used like something as high concept as her living in TV shows that she grew up watching. That's awesome.
And I honestly think it's very well possible that the best line in the entirety of the MCU is what is grief but love persevering?
Yeah.
Like that might be the best line written in the MCU.
I don't remember what I saw. I looked that up. I was like, oh, that's got to be like he pulled that from Shakespeare or something, right? Like I was like, that's a great
That's way too good to be in a Marvel TV show.
Also, I
Apologies.
never thought about that line. I never thought about grief being that way until I heard that line.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
terrific.
It hits.
So for me, it's an A
Talk myself
because
into an A.
the execution of the concept was so much better than it should have been. You know, a different sitcom genre per episode. The performances of Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany won Emmys and deserve it. Or I think they both won. I know she won, right?
I don't think either of them won.
What? She definitely should have won.
I don't think either of them won. I could be wrong.
I think you're wrong.
Gabe, you want me to look it up?
Because I wanted.
Sure.
I thought she was nominated and or won.
Anyway, they're tremendous performances. I really loved Catherine. Who played Agatha? What's her name? No.
Nominated but did not win.
Catherine Hahn. Yes,
Catherine Hahn,
I liked that performance a lot. I think the show got, unfortunately, like because it was a week-to-week thing, the idea of speculating on what was going to happen hurt WandaVision. And I wish if we just got it in its entirety and watched it straight through, we wouldn't have had all of these, oh, she's Mephisto, or it's going to be this or that. Because I do, like you said, I think it's a tremendous study of grief. And I thought Elizabeth Olsen sold it brilliantly. Right. So to me, it's an A for that reason, for all those reasons. But I do understand that I probably like it more than you guys do.
Yeah, it's upper echelon of B for me. I think it's really good.
For me, it's still a solid B just because I don't feel like I think the setup is brilliant, but I don't think it quite stuck the landing enough for me to put it in the A category.
All right, well, let's keep it moving.
B sounds good.
WandaVision at a B, 3-1. Next, we go on to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, an uneven series, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a C for me.
I'm feeling C. I wouldn't go as low as a D. It has some great moments.
I think it has good moments, but for it to have good moments, I think that still means C. Yeah. But I would be C trending D.
Yeah, so would I. I would also be C trending D.
I'm where you guys are. I was initially thinking D, and then I didn't want to go that harsh, but that show is not good.
It's not that good.
Do we go D?
Daenerys, what do you think?
Daenerys says yes.
Is it a D? I gotta.
D is harsh. It feels harsh. It does. But it's not good.
It's honestly, it's genuinely not good.
It's not a good series.
I think, I don't know. It brings up that like the older Captain America, right? And that's a great moment. That's a really emotional moment.
But we're talking what? It's 8 minutes of a 6 hour.
I know. I'm still going. I think that's great. I think his new suit is great. I think that whole way that scene works out, like when he comes in and he's Captain America, but he's like Captain America plus what's his name? Falcon the Winter Soldier. He's like Captain Falcon or something. I don't know, they got to change his name, but I thought that was great. I thought the action in that was really great. It has very disappointing moments, which is why I want to put it at a C, but I don't think I could go as low as a D because I think it has some
D. I think that
the like therapy scene that they have with her in the interrogation room where they're like facing each other and their whole rapport and relationship, I think, works in it.
I thought that the villains are kind of confusing. I'm not even quite sure what they were trying to accomplish. The John Walker stuff, like I don't know if just Wyatt.
I'm excited for where that goes.
I think he just can't act. I don't know if he's good.
Well,
so
yeah, I say C. Anyone say D? Did anyone firmly say D?
No, I'm fine with C.
I'll stay C.
C trending D. I feel I feel about there. All right, we're gonna throw this into C.
Kev?
Yeah, you said C, right? Sorry,
C trending D. No. Yeah, you heard. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now we're talking.
This one's tough.
Loki.
This is an A.
I think it's an A.
I would say it's A trending S, but
probably. Okay, I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, probably still in the A category.
I would say it's A.
But like
solid
it can touch. Like it's tall enough to touch S.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it's near S. I think it's a
solid A.
Yeah,
I love it as an A. Yeah,
I don't think it's a plus.
I just think all the ideas are so like
the
out
end?
of the box thinking. The final, like, to me, that is a series that started out strong and stuck the landing. I thought the finale was incredible when it's set
Jonathan
up.
Majors is terrific.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors is great, and it went to crazy places.
Owen Wilson is
Owen
great.
Wilson.
Yeah.
He's great in it.
It's an A.
And then-
it's not an S. It's an A.
Is it Gugu Mbatha Raw? Is that who that plays?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's great in it too, and she has such a great arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
an
think
A.
she's going to be really important moving on. I forget how that series ended, but it ended on kind of
It
a
ends with
twist
him-
cliffhanger for her.
It ends with him ending up in a different timeline.
Right.
And I forget if it's he's not
timekeepers
Loki or something. Yeah, it's something wonky like that, but he ends up in a different timeline and they're like, why is everything crashing? And he thinks he's with his friends, but he's not, and he's kind of stuck.
It's kind of interesting because I'm reading the Marvel comics and the comics, they are leaning very heavily into Kang. Like they're setting up Kang the Conqueror in a bunch of different series. And
they seem to do that really well when they know where it's going. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll notice that with like the video games that aren't tied in. They're like, check out this character we have now in the video game. And you're like, oh, I've heard of that. And they're like, yeah, we're trying to get you used to this person exists.
Yep. Exactly.
Kudos to them. Again, they 20 steps ahead. I love that as A. I think that's great. I think we can keep it moving with this one might be contentious because I forget where we ended up on this. I think I might like this the most out of us, maybe.
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
I'm a B.
I forget
I'm also a B.
A B.
I think the first two acts of that film are amazing because they spend the entire time showing you that she's a human.
Now, are you B? Are you B trending A? I love this new way we're talking about.
Yeah,
B trending A or B trending C?
I think it falls off. No. I mean, I actually think it's a solid B because I think Florence Pugh is amazing. All the stuff in the first two acts, like their fight scene, is incredible. David Harbour was great.
David Harbour. I was just watching the scenes with
Rachel Weisz was great.
Rachel Weisz is great. I was just watching all the funny clips of David Harbour and Florence Pugh. So that whole familial, that like weird backwards familial relationship is hilarious.
Solid.
Also, this is an understated moment, but it's always stuck with me. It's such a small thing that I think people are gonna be like, why are you even bringing this up? But if in the beginning of Black Widow, that moment when he brings the kids to that moment where he has to give them up, right? And like you actually see that if you look at Harbour's face in that sequence, he goes from like, remember, he's like this loving dad or parent figure. Then in that moment, he's doing his job. So he's like deadpan, like cold. And then there's this moment where he grabs one of the girls and you see the human aspect come back to him because he actually gives a shit about them. It's not just a job. And it's such an understated moment, but Harbour plays that perfectly. It's like literally one of my favorite moments from an acting perspective I've seen in the MCU. I just love that little tiny moment. But the third act, I just can't get over the idea that they spent the whole movie reminding us that she's human and then now she's flying through the air.
Here's the thing, though. The third act stunt is a cool stunt, but I agree with you. It doesn't fit with what comes before it. Right.
And that one blue screen shot.
If you watch, that's awful. If you watch Avengers, the first Avengers movie, like Black Widow grabs onto, the alien craft and she's pulling herself up on skyscrapers and she's otherworldly, even though she's human.
Yeah. But Black Widow spent the whole movie telling us she's human.
Yes, I agree with that.
That was my issue. Like I have no problem if she wants to get into fantastical situations. That's totally cool. It works in Avengers because she's awesome. That's a great character. And that whole sequence that won her in Whedon's movie where it goes into all the different characters is amazing.
Really great.
But it's I think the film Black Widow almost didn't know what it wanted to be. It almost didn't. Why did we need the typical third act CGI fest? Like I get that's an MCU thing, but like, I don't know. I thought Black Widow was breaking ground in the first two acts. And I thought Florence and her, that grounded nature to me was really well done.
Also, just being a prequel, I kind of went into it like, this isn't going to work. Like, why are we doing this? And it works. Yeah, it really does. Better than Captain Marvel.
All right, we got it.
Way better. Yeah.
B. Shang-Chi.
It's an A. Shang-Chi's an A.
Bus scene alone.
I'm A trending B maybe? But I it's a solid A for me.
Yeah, I'm B trending A just because the last act was just a little too much, almost in a very similar way of how Kevin describes Black Widow. Like I just felt like the first two acts were just so grounded in this kind of reality, and then I felt like they literally drove into a forest and it turned into a cartoon.
And he's riding on the back of a dragon. Like I get it.
Yeah,
but they're in a different universe, right? Like that's kind of.
But I guess I just didn't like that universe.
But Tony Leung as his father,
that performance,
brilliant.
All the performances, everybody, and again, like if you guys vote A, I'm B trending A, so like I'm not gonna flip a table over.
It's
it.
Not S tier. It doesn't hit S tier.
No. And anybody out there listening to this right now, do yourself a favor. Go find the behind the scenes of the bus scene. You'll be blown away how much Simu did in that scene. Like we're talking about like even a shot where he's like sliding down from the bus to the door. Like, I was like, oh, it's got to be CGI character. There's no way that's really him. And like, I mean, obviously it's shot on a stage, but they had that bus on a gimbal, whatever it was. And like, that was an awesome.
We got too much stuff in the A category.
Oh, that scene's
We got a lot of stuff in there.
It's Marvel, though. I mean, that's...
It's kind of amazing that Shang-Chi comes around. It's a character no one really knows, for the most part. It's another origin story in a long line of origin stories. And I still think it works well enough to be in the A category. It feels fresh,
I think. As an origin story. As far as Marvel origin stories.
Destin did a great job. The visualization of the rings is amazing. It's a really cool use of the power.
And go back and find our interview with Destin, because like there's a great story in there. And again, this doesn't mean anything about the movie being great or being an A, but he tells this phenomenal story, if you're just finding our show, about directing a scene through an iPhone from his wife's hospital room after she gave birth. And it's a really cool thing. And it's funny. The other day we were talking to the directors from The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, who will be on our show. And they were telling us a similar situation where one of the guys, well, it's different because one of the guys got COVID and had to step away and direct through a phone or an iPad. It's kind of fascinating to me. Their DP was lighting through an iPad.
Remember Shows how easy it is to direct.
Solid A for Shang-Chi. We got to keep it moving here. This is a moment we have not seen What If, so we are not going to throw What If on here. Next time we come back here, I'll probably add a did not finish or haven't seen tier, and we will throw What If up there. So we are going to skip that for now, but if we make it back around to that, we will add it to the list, although it does feel very inconsequential to the MCU.
This next one's going to be interesting.
Eternals. Is this one where we're kind of all over the board? To me,
that's a C for me.
C? Okay.
I'm at a C as well.
Sean?
Yeah.
I like it a lot, but I still think it's probably a B.
I think feel B as well.
I think it's
B
a B.
trending C, if I had to say, but it's very fun. I think it's really, the cast is great. It's very different. And I love that about it.
It's very different. I do like that about it. I don't think it ever lives up to its fullest potential.
It does not earn its length.
We mentioned all these ingredients that you just brought up. Chloe Zhao as a director, the incredible cast. It's different than everything else we've seen
on paper.
And I've gone back to watch it a couple of times on Disney Plus, and I get about an hour into it, and then I'm like, and I love all those elements. I do like all the elements, but it doesn't come together the way that I want it to. But because of those elements, I don't want to kick it lower than a B, because I don't think it's as bad as the things that are on the C level.
Dude, I gotta be honest with you, man. It's like, short of doing this right now in this moment, when you say MCU, I completely forget the Eternals exists.
Yeah.
I know it's a part of the MCU.
I'll give Eternals this, though. It's one of my favorite Angelina Jolie performances.
She's great. Yeah, Cass is great.
Awesome in that movie.
Yeah, I think the Kumail is really fantastic.
Oh, the bit with Kumail Nanjiani, Kumail, by the way, Kumail Nanjiani, where they do the where he explains how he kept acting over the years, and it was the different posters for each. Oh, it was so great. Isn't Kumail Nanjiani and his wife Emily Gordon?
So yes,
are they doing a Play-Doh movie next?
They might be.
God, are they really?
I think Emily.
Let's keep it going. Okay, Eternals. I'm trending C, so I feel like to break the tie, I'm going to throw it in C, and I'm not totally upset about it being in C. It does have. I understand, and to be honest, I mean, look at these movies in C. Like, there are some perfectly fine movies in C, so I'm not as.
I mean, that's what C is. It's just average.
That's sad. That's a little sad.
Because Chloe's a phenomenal filmmaker.
Here is where we run into an issue, and maybe we can briefly talk this out if we should hold off on.
I'm okay with you guys.
This.
Yeah, I'm not going to finish Hawkeye.
Okay, so Hawkeye. Kevin and Jake have not finished Hawkeye. Sean and I have. So we'll go ahead and throw it up. I guess.
Both going to vote S.
And it's an S. Sorry, boys.
To me, it's a B. To me, it's a B.
I would say it's a B, but here's the thing that the only reason I would argue for an A.
Okay.
Is that it's a B because it is not really high stakes. Like to me, it's a B because it's a small, what I love about it is that it is a small story. It is a self-contained one-shot sort of comic. And we get these great moments with these two characters. It's a great introduction for her. I think it does everything great, and there's nothing that I dislike about it. It's very fun, and it's supposed to be this small little other thing that's separate from all these giant movies that have to move the world forward. For sure. And for me, that's the only reason it makes it into the B is like, oh, well, it doesn't quite hit the level of this because it just doesn't have those stakes to deal with and those moments to build towards.
Right. You're saying it's very good at what it wants to do.
And in that instance, I would say I would give it an A in the sense that it does what I think it set out to do and should do. Sure. And Jake, you can't argue with me because you've seen two episodes.
But here's the deal: is that I know I don't get a vote because I didn't finish it.
Yeah,
but there's a reason I didn't finish it is because I just found it just so unbearably boring, and I know that doesn't allow me a vote or any points.
Right.
But it's not like I got busy. I just straight up.
How many episodes did you watch?
3, I think.
It's really fun.
I think I watched 3.
It's really fun.
I gave it. I mean.
B feels right for this list in particular for the wider MCU within the scale of that. B does feel correct. But I just wanted to point out that it's not because I think that it has anything majorly wrong that it knocks it. I think it's great at what it does. I want Marvel to do more. This is just a small story with these characters that you already love. I know I have a disproportionate like for Hawkeye compared to the rest of you, but I think it's really good.
I liked a few of the things that they brought up about him. You know, the physical damage that has been done to him over the years of battle, the hearing aid issue was handled well.
He's the most human Avenger, for sure. Yeah. Even next to Black Widow.
And when it got to the introduction of Kingpin, which you guys didn't get that far enough, like the way that they brought him in was really good. Yeah. And I liked the resolution with Kate Bishop.
The LARPers were a really good through line.
No, I hate the LARPers. I hated the LARPers.
They were
the only place I would disagree with you.
I don't think that they were like I don't see them as like a major part. I think of it as like a B or C plot that was fun that it went through. But go ahead.
In terms of this is just, I don't know why this just hit me, but now I'm like, my mind is racing into multiple directions. It's interesting you bring up human Avenger, right? And I was thinking about all the Avengers who are human beings and the other ones who have superpowers. So this is, and you guys can kill me if you want. Do you consider Peter Parker still a human being?
No, I mean, he has powers.
Well, he's a super human.
Right. But for example, like Tony Stark doesn't have powers. Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa doesn't have powers. Black Widow doesn't have powers. So there's a human being. So you think Peter Parker is not a human being anymore?
Well, no, I mean, Captain America is a human being. He's just a superhuman.
But he got enhanced with super serum.
The super soldier serum. I don't know. We don't have enough time to dig into that. It's interesting, but I think we need to spend more time trying to figure out like what that argument is, because I mean they're human beings. Like he's a human being. He just happens to have. He's a super powered human being. That's like saying mutants aren't humans, which is the whole theme of that is like they are humans. And they're being mistreated.
I think what Kevin is saying in terms of like T'Challa and Tony Stark is that they are.
I understand.
If they're away from their suits, there isn't much that enhances them beyond their ability to be heroes. You know, their want
doesn't need
to be a hero.
Correct. Well, this is a discussion we can bring. We don't have enough time for that at the moment. But I like it. I think it's interesting, but I think we need to dig deeper into that before we sort of blow over it.
Just an idea I had. I was like,
Our final entry for today is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I got to go S on that.
It's an S. It is without a doubt an S.
Tremendous.
Also, let me tell you guys something about this one real fast. So Sean kind of tipped me off on this somehow in the middle of one of our shows once, and I can't remember what show it was or how he said it, but there was something fascinating about No Way Home that I found really interesting on the rewatch. So the first time I watched it, you're waiting for that moment, right? You're waiting for the walkthrough when Garfield shows up and Maguire. And Sean said something interesting about like the first time you see it, you're literally just waiting for that moment. So when I went and saw it for the second time, that's when I really understood how much I loved the first half. Like the first half is excellent. My favorite scene in that whole movie outside of like the general, like the big stuff is this oneer that happens in Peter's apartment when when the helicopters are all flying around and he like leaves his room with Aunt May and Zendaya and like they're walking around, he's webbing the windows. That scene is so fantastically shot and directed and performed, but it's kind of overshadowed by like what the big deal is in the film. But the Aunt May death scene is an incredibly emotional, brilliant sequence. Like that movie has so many great scenes outside of the obvious. It's just an amazing film. That's why I always argue that it should have been nominated for Best Picture. It's a genuinely great film outside of that massive audience moment, but it's great.
I know we got to go, but you said that we're able to move stuff before we lock it in, and once it's locked in, it's there forever. I still believe that Far From Home is way too far up. It doesn't belong in the A category.
It needs to be higher up. Yeah, you're right.
That's my last.
I can't move it. It's not on the level. It's definitely not on the level of Black Widow and Hawkeye. Then
move them down.
Hawkeye's a show you didn't finish. You want to say the Far From Home
exactly. There? Exactly. There's a reason I didn't finish it.
Okay, you lost a vote.
No, you don't. No, you don't get to say that with partial viewing. Sorry, sir.
That's the truth, though.
But you didn't give it the no. We can't have that.
Far From Home has the madness of Mysterio scene. Like that alone makes it an A. It's incredible.
All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I will say we will be back to this list very soon because the plan is
I'm busy that day.
As Marvel projects are completed, we are going to give our review of them, and then a part of that review will be placing it on this tier list. So we're going to keep this up to date as the MCU unfolds. And up next we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Moon Knight is going to end before Doctor Strange, right? Yes.
There's 2 more weeks of Moon Knight.
Also, for the people who are listening non-visually and audio-wise, we only have 1 D and 1 F.
You can check the description, and there will be a link to the finalized tier list. So you will have a visual if you're listening. If you'd like.
I'm happy with this list, to be honest with you. I'm looking it over.
Again, it's a reflection of 4 people arguing about it, so it's not, no one's going to be perfectly happy.
Are we going to do the DCEU? I want to do the DCEU.
Does anybody disagree with our S list?
No.
Yes.
Which
no.
One? Oh, Endgame.
He doesn't like Endgame.
Yeah. No, but I, Yeah, I don't know. The Marvel is hard, especially for us because we all really enjoy Marvel. I feel like S is
maybe
too
I'd kick
special
Homecoming
of a list.
down. Maybe I'd
That's
kick
the
Homecoming
only one
down.
I'd move down to an A is Homecoming.
Maybe I'd kick Homecoming down because the other ones, as you say, are special.
I think we talk about like, the groups, the A group and the B group. I think there are quite a few movies that could be knocked down a notch.
Yeah, well, that's how this goes.
Ragnarok. Like, you're right. Yeah, that could be down to like a B.
All right, let's
C.
That wraps up this segment. Let's go ahead and move on with the rest of the show. Thank you, boys.
Oh my God, there's more of the show?
All right, let's move on to This Week in Movies. We have 2 that are coming out that none of us have seen. One is called Choose or Die on Netflix, and the other one is a big film, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. No screenings and no junkets for it, so we don't have any way to sort of weigh in on that. I am sort of curious how it plays, whether there's an interest in the wizarding world, and if that audience is going to show up for it. But instead, we have Mark Wahlberg's film Father Stu, which Jake was able to check out. So, Jakey, what do you know about it?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it fine. Honestly, it is a fairly interesting story about a man kind of at a point that, he's a boxer and he's a drinker and he's not really at a good point in life. And he decides he's going to, at the age of, around 40, he's going to go to Hollywood and be a big star. So he goes to Hollywood and is a big star. And of course, like so often, it doesn't end up working out. So he kind of resorts back to fighting and drinking, gets in a horrible motorcycle accident, and believes that he sees something that turns him that allows him to find religion, and that he wakes up from that horrible accident and tells everyone in his life to their disbelief, I'm going to be a priest. And they're like, okay, well, this is just that thing that you do. Like, you wake up every day and you decide you're going to be something else. And not only does he end up becoming a very successful father, a man of Christ, he ends up being diagnosed with a condition that severely changes his life. And it's really an unbelievable when you look at the journey that this man makes from the first opening moments to the end of the film. It's a truly unbelievable journey. And I read up on the guy after, and he really did lead a pretty unbelievable life when you think about all the different facets and the different chapters. It's a lot of movie squeezed into a short amount of time. Wahlberg gives a really fantastic performance. He is asked to do a lot. And I know that he has been someone who has been very vocal about finding faith in his life after making some truly horrific decisions earlier in his life. So I think this is a story that touched him personally. I liked it fine. It's not one that I would say that you got to rush out to see in theaters, but if it popped up, if it ended up on a streaming service in the coming weeks and months, I would say it's worth an afternoon press play.
And the weight gain was incredible how he pulled that off. I remember reading that he did like 30 pounds in 3 weeks or something, which is insane. He was eating like 7,000 to 11,000 calories per day, if you can imagine, and then losing that because in the film, he really there's definitely a major transformation. And also want to point out, I love that he's so passionate about this film. He financed it in a way like I don't know how much. I think he put millions and millions of his own money into it. I don't know the exact amount, but I respect his grassroots marketing for this. I respect him going around to Chicago and different areas and like promoting it like very much like an old school
like Montana. He would go to like these sort of offbeat places where there's a faith-based crowd. Sure. So
and that's a really big market. The faith-based movies are huge. I mean, it's so fascinating to me. Like I'll get people who will come out and say, "Oh, I'm excited to see the new Doctor Strange movie," but then like when a new faith-based film is coming out, a lot of people ask me about it. Like it's a huge market, obviously.
And also when you say, aren't there moments like once or twice a year where we will look at like a weekend box office and all of a sudden we'll look at like the number 3 film, maybe not like number 1, but like the number 3 film that opened at $20 million and you go, what is that? Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if honestly, if Father Stu, even though not a lot of people seem to be talking about it. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that makes it tough.
It's rated R. That's the only, I was actually surprised he would release a faith-based movie Easter weekend that's rated R.
Don't forget the passion. Something really interesting about this also though too. My mom maybe brings up movies once every 5 years, like at best, if she hears of something. She's had Father Stu on her radar for like weeks.
Really?
She's like, do you have a link to this? Is there any way we can watch this? She doesn't even know how I watch movies. She was just like, how can I watch this? But because it's rated R, my mom is strange that she does not watch rated R movies. She won't watch it.
Really?
Interesting.
Doesn't want to hear language. She doesn't believe that any of that belongs in movies. It's very
but even
weird.
if that, okay, like did she not see The Passion?
She did not see The Passion. No.
So even if you were to tell her like, look, this was just a part of his life. This is who he was before he changed. Isn't that a part of the journey?
Sure. Yes. But she doesn't matter. She doesn't want to.
Okay. Fair enough.
So she won't see fathers. See, no, so that's fascinating. It kind of goes to my point because how many other people out there, like also you can't take your family to see this. Really, with your kids, right? You can. Well, I mean, you could, but like on a Sunday, on Easter Sunday, do you think you're going to take your 7 and 8 year old kids to go see Father Stu?
I honestly might take Brendan to Ambulance.
Ambulance. I love Ambulance. I thought it was awesome.
Another faith-based cautionary tale.
Ambulance is violent, man. That movie is brutal.
The other day, Brendan texted me while I'm at work, and he's like, "Guess what I'm watching?" And which is like impossible because he was, this whole slate of things. He's texting me photos of the original Halloween. He's watching Carpenter's original Halloween.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Okay. Yeah. All right, Jake.
Come on, there's a perfect month to watch that movie. It's literally it's in the title.
I have a follow up. Because I think that movie I feel like the reasons I love that movie is one, I saw it when I was younger, but two, like I can see where if someone saw it today for the first time, it's pretty thin. What did he think?
He loves it. He watched Child's Play. He was watching Child's Play the other night, and Michelle was like, "Isn't that like, aren't you kind of freaked out by that?" And he goes, No. I don't really care about like the violence and all that stuff in Child. This is my 14-year-old. I don't really care about the violence and stuff like that in Child's Play. That's not scary. He goes, but Halloween, that movie's scary.
Interesting.
The getting underneath your skin and sort of creeping you out like that.
Has he seen any of the newer Halloween movies?
He watched the first. He watched the 2 David Gordon Green ones. Which
he's seen both of those. Oh, cool.
He saw both of those. So
he was already sold. That's good.
Yeah, Gabe,
I'm going to Music Box on Friday to see the thing on
This
the big
weekend?
screen. Yeah.
Oh, that's
wait,
good.
I've never seen it on the big screen.
Are they showing on film?
Yeah.
Probably. Is the
That's
Music Box,
awesome.
box only do film?
I don't
know.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They show a
Seeing
lot
in
of stuff.
35 or
They
70?
do
you
a
know?
lot of 70 millimeter.
I did see 2001 in 70.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I
beautiful.
told
It's a
you guys
beautiful
this.
thing.
Very relevant conversation for anyone who doesn't live in Chicago or St. Louis. St. Louis.
It's a
I
bit
guess
of a,
just
bit of a
Chicago.
hike for me myself.
About once every couple of months, I send a screenshot to Gabe in the hope that something will stir within him and he'll get in his car. But I always super underestimate how far of a drive it is between.
It's
So
a
I always
whole,
think.
it's a whole like day and a half.
Yeah,
Like,
I
have to
always
make a
think
trip
it's
of it.
for some reason I think it's like 2 hours away, but I forget how long Illinois
5
is.
and
This
a
is
half,
super
I think it is.
captivating.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna pull up a map for the listeners.
Illinois is really long.
Because we're playing hashtag Michael Peña blend and celebrating the films of Michael Peña. And I was kind of surprised going back over his filmography, how deep and long his filmography is. So, Kev, where are you starting? Let's go. What's your favorite Michael Peña film or performance?
I mean, End of Watch is I would argue his best movie with David Ayer. I love that film. My favorite is Ant-Man.
Okay.
I think that character in Ant-Man is incredible. And I love the way he narrates elements and like takes us through scenes. And like, to me, that whole vibe with him and Paul Rudd, it works so well. And I think even in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I don't love, he's still great in it. And I just feel like Peyton, the director of the Ant-Man film, found a way to really use Michael in a really awesome way. It's like a really great character. It's a really funny bit, but it's also like interesting and entertaining. It's funny when I think about him, there's so much to go through. I mean, dramatically, he's brilliant. End of Watch, that was the one I was kind of like tackling or battling with in my mind, because I think him and Gyllenhaal in that film are just
Well, I can tell you that's my
outstanding.
pick.
Well, then,
that's my pick if you
I'll
want to
let you
double up
take
on
it.
that.
Because
Yeah.
and I did a Q&A with Michael Peña for End of Watch in DC when that film came out. I just remember that film was so immersive and so intense and so, I mean, just dramatically brilliant, but also undercut with like some comedy elements as well, just in the car. But I think favorite, I have to go Ant-Man. But if I was going best, I'd go End of Watch. You take End of Watch.
Well, just because we talk a lot about on this show about movies that immerse you in communities that you might not be familiar with, whether
Right.
it's like Do the Right Thing and that section of Brooklyn and the way that Spike Lee personifies it, or even an international location that sets you in London or Paris or something like that. And you just feel like you understand the neighborhood so much. And the way that David Ayer tells South Central Los Angeles stories, and a lot of times through the eyes of service people, and in this one, it happens to be police officers, is a really unique way to put you through it, because there are these terrifying moments. We talk about Training Day, and we talk about that scene with Ethan Hawke in the bathtub, where it makes you stop and think, because Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Peña are so believable. They're so credible in their positions that when I watch something like End of Watch, and my father was a New York City police officer, but was never immersed in a situation that those guys are in. But you think that there are actual people out there who are doing this on a daily basis, who are serving as police officers in cities around the country and putting their lives at risk. And the way that Ayer shoots it and the way that those guys perform it, I thought Peña was fantastic, because for whatever reason, and I guess he does do a lot of dramatic work, but I think of Michael Peña and I think of comedic roles. And so when I watched him in End of Watch, I was surprised at how much I was able to just forget that was Michael Peña, and I believed the character, and I believed the partnership of their brotherhood. And I don't want to tell people where the movie goes, but it goes to some pretty dark and sad places. And I was so on board with the ride, and I was so, a lot of it's David Ayer and the way that he wrote and directed.
That's his best movie, I think.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. And I think that those two are so tremendous. And, look, I know this is Michael Peña blend, and I thought he was terrific in this, but Jake Gyllenhaal's career is filled with a lot of roles that are
Nightcrawler.
Like, he's all over the place. And no matter what he does, he's extremely convincing in it. Because End of Watch was a long time ago, and he was phenomenal in it. And he's still turning in phenomenal performances. And so those two are great. And I had to pick that for Michael Peña blend. So I'm sorry, Gabe, did you want to?
No, this is a tangent. I was going to say, for David Ayer, do you, as a director, End of Watch, writing, do you put
Training Day.
over.
I think I put Training Day over it. Yeah, I think I do. That's script
end of
is so.
Yeah.
It's a perfect movie. Yeah. Anyway,
That script is phenomenal.
David Ayer's great.
Jakey, where'd you go for
Mine's kind of interesting, even though it's already been said. But you guys know I don't particularly care for Ant-Man, but I'm picking Ant-Man. Because for me, he is far and away the best part. Like, it's one of those situations where I'm picking it based entirely on the performance, and it's a performance that I really wish we would see more of. And I'm kind of amazed that Marvel, a company that respectfully recognizes when someone likes something and rides it till the wheels comes off. I'm kind of amazed that they haven't done more with him.
You know what's really funny? Let me throw this out too. There was at San Diego Comic-Con one year at the beginning of the Marvel panel, and this was right after Infinity War, and they were teasing Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they had a filmed bit where Paul Rudd and Michael Peña were essentially explaining everything that happened in the MCU from Iron Man to this point, and the pitch ended up being that they were sitting across from Michelle Pfeiffer and trying to convince her to take on the role. But it was a 15-minute, those two riffing off of every film in the MCU.
How did they never release that?
That's exactly my point. Like, I have no clue why that exists. And the only people who have seen it are in Hall H, because it was hysterical. It was like a complete run. It was like if his character did a complete rundown of the MCU up to that point.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was so funny. And I have no clue how they haven't released it.
And that's not even in that giant compendium of, the Infinity Gauntlet saga or whatever.
Not that I know of. No, not that I know of.
Why would they not release that?
Yeah. I have no idea. A lot of times they do like to keep stuff that's just specific to Hall H and say that this is a reward for the fans who came.
Here's where it could work. Did you guys see that they went? Have you seen on Disney Plus? They added the Disney one shots. They rebranded a lot of the bits into being quote unquote one shots. And
that's a good place to put it.
They package them all together as if they're like a retroactively package them together as if they're like a series.
I think you can actually find it on YouTube. I think there's like pirated versions of it on YouTube.
Well, then maybe that's why they're like,
I'll look for it and see if I can find it for you guys. Cool. I'm sorry, Jakey, keep going.
No. I mean, that's basically, everything that you guys have said about it is absolutely spot on. I mean, I feel like they, they gave him that performance, on the 50-yard line, and he just ran it in all the way into the end zone. Like, he just took it and run with it. He made it his own. And it's a fully formed 3-dimensional character, despite not getting that much screen time. And I'm just continuously in awe of every time I think about him, it makes me smile. And I'm just continuously in awe that like we really haven't seen more of him. And I really hope we do down the line, because I think there's a lot more opportunities. What's the word for in the new Ant-Man movie? It's just like in the same way.
Quantumania?
Is that the word?
It reminds me of like before Ragnarok became like part of our vocabulary. Like we all saw that word and we're like, what's that word? What is it?
Quantumania.
Quantumania.
I still can't say Doctor Strange's sequel without messing up the title. Like, try saying it fast. Like
in the Multiverse of Madness, in the Multiverse.
In the multiverse,
You know what? I don't want to be typing it out for the next 2 months, because that's what we're going to be doing on Cinema Blend as we cover a lot of stories. You know what else is a long ass title? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I'm really tired
people
of
just do massive
lately.
Talent. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, but
well, even Nick Cage calls it Massive Talent.
Does he?
Yeah, and I know that because I recently spoke with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. We didn't talk about that. For audience picks, Cam McKinney went with Ant-Man. THX, that company that has the amazing sound that
which
blows
follows
before the
us.
movies. Follows us on social
Isn't that
media.
George Lucas's company?
Yeah,
I believe it is Lucas. They're based in San Francisco. They recommended that you check out Michael Peña in Fury. That's also a terrific.
I assume they worked.
I believe it's pronounced. I believe it's actually pronounced Furry.
Furry? No, yes, it's not. That's a different movie. Cisco, Michael Breen, Jay, and many more said end of watch. Michael Kamen.
Cisco listens to our show.
He does.
Oh man!
And AJK went with Observe and Report, which is a Seth Rogen and
another
Michael
great
Peña one
comedic
too.
role from him.
Also, there's Eric Eisenberg, who works for our site, raves about a movie called The War on Everyone, which is a John Michael McDonough film, and I believe John Michael McDonough did In Bruges with Colin.
I thought that was
That was
Wait, no. Maybe he did Seven Psychopaths. Did he do Seven Psychopaths?
that's Martin McDonough.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the same filmmaker.
Who did John Michael McDonough?
You're thinking
do
of Calvary?
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Eric's always raved up the War on Everyone. I have a copy of it. I haven't had a chance to ever watch it, but he thinks it's one of the funniest things Michael Peña has ever done. So if you feel like you want to check it out, that's a recommendation from Cinema Blend's own Eric Eisenberg.
Brendan
so for next
Gleeson
week,
is in Calvary, by the way, is why I asked if maybe that's what you were thinking.
Is on Calvary.
Who is also in Bruges.
For next week, you can reach out on Twitter, with Colin Farrell, using hashtag
in Bruges.
Speaking of training day, we're going to be playing hashtag Ethan Hawke Blend. So let us know your picks for Ethan Hawke's best role or your favorite role from him via email at realblend@cinemablend.com.
You forget how long he's been working.
White Fang.
Yeah, you did want us to. We interviewed him recently. Friend of the show. Yeah, you should go listen to our interview with Ethan Hawke.
True.
Reviews. Drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or leave us a rating on Spotify. Thank you very much for all the support that you've been doing to help us grow the Blender family. Our next premium episode
is a surprise.
Going to be.
Sorry, I didn't add that in there.
That's okay. So again, check the description below for more information on how to sign up for premium episodes. You can follow us on social media throughout the course of the week. We are at Jake's Takes, at Kevin McCarthy TV, at Gabe Kovach, at Sean_O'Connell, and the show is at ReelBlend.
Gabe has something to say.
Yes, Gabe.
I wanted to use this opportunity to tease a couple shows that are dropping next week. Because we have a couple interviews in the can.
Okay.
Both are dropping next week. I won't reveal what order, but we have a bonus episode and a full episode. One of which with the filmmakers behind The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Ooh, yes. That sounds like a good interview.
Kevin Eaton and Tom Gormican. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm. I believe so, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then we also have Robert Eggers going to be on for The Northman.
Returning to the show.
So I wanted to let people know next week. We didn't have a guest this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the tier list, but
tier list was crap.
I also have a quick thing to mention at the end. I recently watched a special on HBO Max that I wanted to recommend to people called Rothaniel, Gerard Carmichael. Bo Burnham directed it.
I've heard such good things about that.
So Bo Burnham directed this. It is 55 minutes. It's one of the most profound, emotional, hilarious, but deeply moving pieces that I've ever seen. And I have not watched Gerard Carmichael's work prior. But since Bo Burnham directed it, I was very fascinated by it. Obviously, he did Inside, which was a masterpiece. It is well worth your time if you have 55 minutes to watch it. It is beyond moving and just brilliantly done. And it's really real and raw and vulnerable. It's just interesting. So,
I feel stupid shouting hockey pads after that. So let's just say, see you next week.
Bazinga.
That's good, actually.
You always sound stupid screaming that.